Alright guys, we just got shared the FT CAD PowerPod lesson to us, and we're the students, and we are attempting to dimension the PowerPod. And so if you notice that you have the actual attachment here, you can download it. When you download it, it goes into your download bar, and you can go ahead and bring it up in DraftSight if you have DraftSight. If you have something else, this tutorial is not going to work for you. So you've got your FT PowerPod here, and this is important because you can design aircraft around this PowerPod. If this PowerPod is going to house your motor, it's going to house your electronics, your ESC, your battery, all that good stuff, your FT PowerPod components, you're going to want to make sure that you design your aircraft to scale around this PowerPod. So this is a great tool to not use just for your dimensioning today, but to use for future reference and for future designing. Now if you notice, I've got a dimension here already, and if we were to dimension this whole FT PowerPod, we're going to overwhelm this drawing, and it's going to be really hard to even pick out the power pack itself. Now as a draftsman, CADsman, engineer, you want to make sure that you've got it so that you are communicating your product enough so that you have everything dimensioned, that it looks good, and that people can then take that drawing and use it as a reference, or manufacturing can use it for building and production, and you can use it for, like I said, future design. So let's get right into dimensioning this thing. I'm going to delete this dimension that I already did because I want to make it smaller, change it up, and make it so that we can all see it better. So I'm going to go to Tools, and you're going to go down to where it says Options. This is huge for us, and in this you'll notice that my screen's black and my command window is black. You can do that all within the options under drawing, setting, drafting style, user preferences. You can do right click stuff, all kinds of cool stuff. But let's go to drafting styles, and we want to go to dimensions. Under this dimensions, the ones you're going to really look at, and the changes will be seen over here in the preview, is you're going to want to look at arrows. And for me, I like to make 1/8 inch arrows. So I just type in 0.125. It'll make them smaller and they won't overwhelm your drawing. The other one I want to do is linear dimension. If I go to linear dimension, I can change the format as to how I want to present this. I can have it architectural, I can have it engineering, I can have scientific, but for right now we're going to keep it as decimal. And my precision I want to get down to, we could choose this one, and this will give us just enough decimal to get a precision measurement where it's not too overwhelming. Round nearest, prefix, all that stuff we don't need to mess with, so I'm going to close that and close my arrows. The next one I'm going to go to is the line. If I go to dimension line settings, I can actually change the color of my dimensions, which I kind of want, because right now my object lines are white and red. So if I go in here and I say, alright, well let's go ahead and change my lines to, I don't know, green, something bright. If you notice in the preview, your lines are now green, but my extension lines are still white. So I'm going to close down my dimension, open up my extension, and say, let's make these green too. Now if you want to change the text, which I definitely want to do, I want to change my text color too. My text settings, make it so that it's only 0.125, and I'm going to make it so that my color is only green too, just to keep everything the same. This will really pop out in our drawings, and you can change it up. And good etiquette though, it usually stays around the same as your object lines and your dimension lines. So if I do close that, go to my tolerance. Don't need to mess with my tolerance because I've already set my tolerance, and I should be good. So I'm going to go ahead and say apply and click OK. Now I can start dimensioning. Go up to the top and you'll click dimension. Now this is important that you just play around with everything. Just see what they do. Like, aligned. What does align do? If I click these 2 points here, does it give me something? Well, okay, that seems pretty cool. If I right click, I can choose this one. Ah, yeah, I like that. It gives me a dimension that I can bounce off of that line. Let's see, go up to the smart. The only problem about smart is, and this is where I even tell my kids to stay away from smart, is that if you notice, I want to dimension this whole thing, but I can't. It's just going to select a line. So if I select just a line, if you notice, and I messed this up on purpose, this should have one clean line going all the way down. But for the sake of this demo, you'll notice that there's just a line there already. And that's what you guys are going to do after you've cut and copied and pasted from all kinds of different drawing sources. So that's not going to work out for us. So hit escape, hit delete. The one that you'll work with for the most part is linear. And you can go in and start to dimension now a lot of your drawings. Now we're not going to get into the specifics in terms of etiquette and how to dimension properly. There's a lot of rules in each field, mechanical, electrical, and how you are supposed to go about dimensioning an actual object. For the most part, and for what we're doing within this class, this is great, and this will get you that basic training so that when you do go to college, you'll actually learn the proper way of dimensioning and drawing. But for this is perfect. It's entry level. It gets you into it. Now, if you notice, you don't over dimension. Don't dimension. If I was to do this again, it makes no sense for me to keep on doing this and dimensioning all my tabs. If you dimension one tab, it's inherent that all of them are going to be 1 inch. You don't have to change these unless each one of these tabs are different dimensions. But you definitely want to make sure that you go from, like, I want to know exactly where that circle is, and I want to know exactly where this circle is in reference to that circle. Especially how big the cutout is, and even how big this is as it goes out. Another one I'm going to make sure I do is I want to make sure that this, I want to see how fat this is, and when it's folded up, I got to make sure that I design my fuselage around 2.4 inches in length so that my FT PowerPod can sit in there comfortably. So you can just go to town and dimension this thing however you want. It's good practice. The other ones, finally, is the diameter and circle. Those are too small to do that. But if we just do a C enter and I draw a circle here, all you have to do is just go and click either diameter or radius, click the circle, drag your dimension out, and you're set. And keep on going from there. Well, friends, communicate by dimensioning your drawings when necessary so that you can get those ideas and communicate sizes and references and scales to your other peeps in your classroom, as well as to the FT STEM community where you're asking questions about sizing and scaling. How big should I do this? Use the dimension tool. It'll be a lot easier to communicate in terms of measurement, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.